Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday, July 26, 2023. About 10:37 a.m. here, California time. Latest quake shows a 1.7 here along the west coast. We did see some activity ramping up earlier this morning. We looking at some quiet zones yesterday. Remember this area around Vanuatu area? I mentioned that in my last update to watch these quiet zones, and goodness, they definitely got hit. Coming in with a 6.4 earlier this morning, it looks like. This originally came in, I believe, as a 6.8. It did get downgraded a little bit there by the USGS. This coming in about 10 kilometers deep there outside of the Vanuatu area. That was followed up pretty quickly by a 5.2, a 5.0, and another 5.0. So things kind of ramping up here within this area of the Vanuatu region, north of Port Vila here. Also about that time, we did see some adjustment up here on the northern edge of the Pacific Plate. 4.7 coming into the Sandpoint, Alaska area, 40 kilometers deep. This just goes to show you how the plate adjustment, you mess with one area, get some earthquake activity on one section of the plate, and that can ultimately have an effect thousands of miles away across the plate, plate boundary of that same plate, or subsequently could be a separate plate, different plate, adjacent plate. For now, definitely seeing things ramp up here across the Vanuatu area and regions west. We did see some further movement here across the Indonesia with a 5.1 earthquake coming in, following all this movement. So we were waiting for that area here to finally get hit. So a couple different things going on here. And now that we've seen further adjustment along this plate boundary, we'll continue to watch for some movement back building across the Tonga and the Fiji Islands area. Most likely it will be some further deep movement taking place here into these areas. Let's see here. There's that movement up into the Alaska. Looks like a 5.1 and a 4.7 coming in there to that area. Let's see what's going on across the west coast. Any adjustment going on out here? Well, it looks slightly a little bit more active than last night. Last night was fairly quiet out here across the areas of the west coast. We did see a 3.9 out here into the Blanco fracture zone once again. About 5 o'clock or so this morning. And a little bit of activity stretching across the northern California area. Kind of watching this region right here north of Clear Lake. This is just off the Bartlett Springs Fault. This thing produced I think a 5.7 here a few years back. I felt that pretty strongly as a jolt outside of Chico here when that earthquake did take place. Looks like they're having a little bit of a movement kicking up here on that specific fault system over the last 24 hours. Some 2s and 1s coming into this area. Continue to keep an eye on that. Bay Area pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on specifically across these fault systems or the plate boundary. One earthquake here near Prunedale outside of Salinas, 1.7. That is just off the San Andreas Fault, which is a plate boundary here. A little bit of movement there on the creeping segment, or just very close to the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault. Here's some smaller microquakes coming in. Southern California, a little spotty, but notice inland here, getting some movement into Nevada once again. This could be a sign of some impending pressure out here across the plate boundary. North of the Pyramid Lake area out in Nevada, did see a 2.0 near Gerlach, Nevada, 2.0. About 4 or 5 o'clock this morning, coming in before all this movement down south here across the Vanuatu area. A lot of times we'll see this kick up here before things really start to ramp up, or we see a large earthquake out here. We tend to see things kind of ramp up across the North American plate and the Pacific plate boundary here before seeing a relief of pressure out here across the eastern Pacific, and that would include the west coast. A lot of times, we get that little hint there that maybe something big is brewing out here along the west coast, but then we'll see that activity really ramp up here and things settle back down. But right now, it doesn't look like things are quieting down all that much here across the west coast. with this movement inland. There's a 2.0 also north of Las Vegas, about 11 kilometers deep, and a couple clusters going on here over the last 24 hours. So continue to keep an eye on the west coast for now, up into Yellowstone. Let's see what we got here. Some movement from yesterday, a little bit today. Let's go ahead and check out the latest Yellowstone overview here, from the site called isthisthingon.org. It's an overview of pretty much all of the seismograph stations here across Yellowstone National Park. Now, I am not... Let's see, are these the correct dates here? Let me double check this and see what's going on here, because I'm wondering where that 6.5 earthquake, right? Where's that 6.5 earthquake that popped up here across the Vanuatu area, or 6.4, excuse me. Where is that at on the map? I'm not seeing it. It should have at least been a little blip here. Most of the time, any 6-pointer around the globe will show up here across Yellowstone, but I don't know what happened to it. I'm not seeing it. A little bit of activity stirring up here across the Yellowstone region, down south here across the Pitchstone Plateau. Let's see, July 26th, current UTC time of 1700, and I think that's right about now. Yeah, 1700, July 26th, UTC time. So these are current graphs here, but goodness, I'd like to know where that. I always look for that signature, you know. As far as a large earthquake, I always like to look at the S waves. Maybe it just didn't produce any due to the dynamic of the plate out there. You know, as far as where it's positioned along that plate boundary. Either way, a handful of smaller earthquakes here across Yellowstone. Nothing big, no major swarm coming in here. But we are getting, looks like a little bit of noticeable activity here across the southern edge, like I mentioned here, near the Pitchstone Plateau area. These are some smaller microquakes coming in over the last 24 hours. All right, let's see what else we have out here. Oklahoma, a little bit of movement kicking up here. Texas area as well. These are all over the last 24 hours. Nothing going on across the eastern portion of the country for now. And the Middle America Trench here. Let's see what we got as far as latest information goes here. A lot of this is some older earthquake activity. Notice the red rings here. So things are taking a little bit of a break out here across the Middle America Trench. Still seeing a little bit of activity there in the white rings. It looks like around the Costa Rica area, or maybe just north of there. Puerto Rico, very minimal movement today. South America region, most of this activity from last night. Really no further movement there in that area. Maybe a couple smaller quakes. 4.5 out into the divergent boundary, way offshore here. Looks like around the East Pacific rise. That not showing up, though, on the USGS side. Just on the Earthquake 3D globe. So, let's see here. New Zealand. Let's see what we got here for New Zealand. I really don't think we have too much stirring up there currently. New Zealand possibly should have picked up that that signature from that 6.4 this morning. Let's go here to the all magnitudes map here. Unnoticeable earthquake, 1.8, the latest here. 2.6 off North Island 2 hours ago. Not really seeing anything major stirring up here. The earthquake drums here will give us just a good indicator maybe of what's going on, or maybe what's not going on there. So that 6.4 looks like it's going to be this one right here, this little blip here. Has it been about 8 hours ago? Is that when the 6.4 started up? Looks like about 5 o'clock in the morning. 6:10. I don't know. Maybe not that far ago, huh? Sometimes it's hard to tell. I don't know. I don't see it on there really. That's got to be it right here. It looks like a distant earthquake. Either way, far as New Zealand goes, it looks pretty quiet, folks. There's not too much popping off out there. But with all this movement kicking up here, as I mentioned, good time to watch this plate boundary here for some adjustment. The general plate motion across this area is towards the northwest here. So we got that movement taking place here across the plate boundary. Some good size adjustment. So we'll watch this area of the plate boundary here today. I think that's going to fill in pretty nicely pretty soon. Got that earthquake activity here in Indonesia kicking up there following that movement. Let's see the Mariana Trench. We got anything new going on there? Doesn't look like it. That's from yesterday, 4.9. A little bit of activity here off the coast of the Japan region from late last night. Let's see what we got here on the Earthquake 3D globe. Relatively quiet up here across the western Pacific. But I don't know. Let me see here. So we got two areas of adjustment over the last 12 hours. Some pretty good adjustment here in Vanuatu, and almost immediate adjustment following that activity down south up north here. And the general plate movement here of the Pacific plate heads off like this towards the northwest. And what's over there across the northwest? The Kamchatka Trench. So we don't see anything there. I'll be surprised, but with all this activity bouncing back and forth here between the bottom and the top part of the plate boundary, the Pacific plate, maybe not the bottom part, but it's a pretty good adjustment. We should see things kind of kick up here across the area. So a couple different regions to watch here today, folks. Zip, zip, across the Kamchatka and this plate boundary right here. Almost felt like there was a spider crawling on me. Let's see what else we got. 3.2 coming in. Is that the... Let's see, what is that up here? 3.2 coming into Nevada currently. Was that on the map here just a little bit ago? I can't remember if it was or not. Either way, definitely that's somewhat of an odd earthquake there. Across the region of Crescent Valley, Nevada. Outside of Elko, south of, or at least southeast of Winnemucca. This area, of course, is riddled with fault systems all throughout the Great Basin area of Nevada. But looks like we're getting a little bit of movement there today, folks. Alaska region, aside from that movement earlier today, looks like typical earthquake activity across the region. Really nothing above 2.5, aside from that 4.7, which the USGS is reporting. But it looks like the EMSC is keeping that as a 5.1. I'm guessing that's why we're seeing two earthquakes there on the globe. Differences in depth and magnitude will show up as a duplicate quake here on the globe. That's the unfortunate thing. So who do we believe, the USGS or the EMSC? That's kind of why I keep both of these agencies here on the globe, and then we can just decide on that. All right, Java Trench areas, a couple smaller earthquakes there across the last 24 hours. One new one, 3.6. That may be trying to... all this activity may be trying to migrate up around that area. We'll definitely keep an eye on that region as well. There's a lot that can take place, folks, in regions around the plate boundary once we see some movement taking place out here. So Pacific plate is a dandy of a plate out here. A lot of pressure up against that western area here. All right, Turkey area looks like it's pretty active overnight. Quite a few 2s and 3s in there across the area. Also just east here. Let's see what's going on. Some movement into eastern Afghanistan, a 4.7 just after midnight. And over here, just off the Iran coastline here, near the Caspian Sea region, seeing a 4.3. I think that was from yesterday, right? No, that one was from today. Well, just after midnight, a couple minutes after midnight, 4.7. Either way, on the Earthquake 3D globe, it looks pretty active across this area today. The Atlantic Ocean, some movement kicking up here in Iceland, a 2.9. And there's the Azores area getting hit with earthquake swarming again. It did die off slightly yesterday, but that is back with a vengeance here today, it looks like. We'll continue to watch that. This area is capable of producing... a decent earthquake, no mega quakes here. The setup is not designed unless it's like a full-blown, fracture in the oceanic crust out there where we get more than just an earthquake, but most of the time here, upper sixes can take place in that region. Activity down in the South Sandwich Trench, I believe that is from yesterday. Let me see here. No, we actually did have another one there earlier this morning, 5.3, about 3 o'clock in the morning or so. So we'll watch, these areas. The west coast here doesn't look like it's dying down following the movement to the west with this inland activity. So we'll keep an eye here across the plate boundary. A little bit of movement there around Mount St. Helens. Very small microquake activity there across the region. See what we got for the space weather activity. We're crackling again. Look at that, crackling with some M flares. See what we got here over the last 24 hours or so. Count about 3 M flares. Low grade one right here. A couple moderate M flares kicking up. Just coming down from one over in the last hour or two. We're currently flaring. Notice the global delayer absorption map. That is from this area up here on the northeast or northwestern limb of the sun. Notice the bright feature here. Just slight flaring going on. Now I think we are going to get into an active pattern as coming around the bend here on the eastern limb looks very active in terms of well, it's hard to say what's going on there yet, but looks like a couple large sunspot regions about to emerge from the eastern limb. If you've been following this guy, goodness, that is growing. It's pretty much was a baby here. We just seen it pop up out of the blue and rapidly intensify. That one's looking much bigger today. Still got a little bit of growth to go through to get that complex structure in the magnetic field, but we'll keep an eye on this one as that is in the development stage. This one will be out of view probably by tonight. I don't think that's going to have any major effects here on Earth. As far as any CMEs go, be directed away from Earth. And for the most part, I think this area and this one right here are the ones to watch for now until we get a better view of what's coming around the eastern limb here of the sun. But it does look like it's pretty active, at least looking here on the UV filter array. Notice the magnetic lines arching across many different regions. So we'll keep an eye on that here in the coming hours and days for some, maybe for some solar uptick here. 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40, X flare around 5% chance still. There's our M flares over the last 48 hours. Excuse me. Did have a little bit of solar weather kicking up here last night. Looks like up to the G1 class territory, possibly there, maybe with the KP index chart. Currently, the aurora forecast very minimal, not a whole lot going on here. We are still expecting potentially a G1 class storm that is in the forecast, at least for, looks like it's going to be later tonight. This is the UTC time, 0 to 600 UTC time will be later tonight, our time here along the west coast. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if things get stirred up. Not going to hold my breath on that one, though. We didn't really have anything majorly Earth directed. These are all just going to be some small CMEs that were produced over the last couple days. That may give us a little glancing blow here from those events, but I don't think there's going to be too much to watch. All right, let's see what else is there. I think that's about it. I'm just going to enjoy the day here today. See what we got for the weather forecast here real quick. It's going to be another hot one, I guess. I'm getting used to the 100 degrees, so it doesn't quite feel as bad going outside now because I'm just used to the weather. Enhanced risk for some severe weather out in the portions of, looks like Michigan area, Indiana. Those areas in a 5% chance for tornado probabilities today. So if you're up and about, well, whether you're up and about or not, should be weather aware of what could take place here today across that region. Some severe thunderstorms possible in the area around Detroit, Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, Fort Wayne, heads up. Got some large hail or some high wind and a chance for some large hail. Looks like main threat today is just going to be some wind and that tornado probability there in the listed area. So heads up, be weather aware. Thunderstorm activity, of course, that's going to include these regions up around the Great Lakes area. 70% chance of thunderstorms there. California, not a whole lot going on. Let's see what we got here for the numerical models. Let's check out the Gulf down here, Gulf of Mexico, and see if we got any tropical development coming in over the next couple weeks or so. I just seen barely a glimpse of a hurricane out here in the Atlantic. That looks like that's going to get caught up in the upper level winds and just kind of disappear. Another little hurricane here in the Pacific. Those don't really make it up into California. Sometimes the remnants of these tropical storms do provide Southern California with some rain, but that one's going to be scooted off. It looks like I don't see anything major developing in the Gulf right now, which is good news. And far as temperatures go, well, let's see what we got for the assemble here. GEPS assemble. There's a high pressure system marked over the. Well, this is today. Across the desert Southwest, Pacific Northwest is relatively going to cool down here. Looks like good for them, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. It doesn't look like anything major set up out here across the West Coast as far as any dominant high-pressure systems. Definitely up north, though. Either way, quite a bit of ridging. I don't see any type of major heat waves coming. This is August 5th. Let's go back here to tomorrow or so. I wish it was that cold. 2 meter temperature anomaly. That's a 2 meter one. Yeah, there's some of that ridging up north. All right. We'll check this out later. I really don't pay attention to the weather out here in California until I know that we're going to start cooling down and we start getting rain again. And technically that doesn't happen for us until first week of November. Hopefully we'll get some rain coming in around November or so. I'd like to see it a little bit sooner. We got 2.4 coming into Hawaii right now, Pahala area. No major changes there across the volcanoes currently. Just kind of keeping an eye on the earthquake activity. That's normally a good indicator of some activity stirring up below. As far as volcanic movement goes. All right, have a good one. We'll catch you guys back here later tonight. There's a little spike of an earthquake on the Petrolia station. I don't think that's going to be showing up. These other ones don't, but there is still some earthquake activity popping up here, it looks like. We'll catch you guys back here later tonight. Have a good one. Enjoy your Wednesday out there. And if you're out here in the heat like me, try to stay cool. Peace out.